All right, guys, we're ready for Muirfield Village Golf Club, the Memorial Golf Tournament, and a special 2-year anniversary. Guys, Fairway to Heaven, we're live, taking your thoughts and opinions and breaking this week's event down in 30 seconds. And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven right here on the STT Sports Network. We're live, YouTube and Twitter, guys. Make sure you do me that favor. Hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, wherever you're watching. Even if you're watching on replay, that helps grow this channel, helps grow this show, so I'd greatly appreciate it if you're watching over on Twitter. You can comment on Twitter, or you can head on over to the STT Sports Network YouTube page and watch from there. I'd greatly appreciate either options there, guys. We got a jam-packed show today. Anniversaries, birthdays, sicknesses. We got everything working today. I'm your host, Phil Stifle, as always. Got my main man, Jason Sullivan, with me, as always. And filling in for the birthday boy, Steven Fuentes. He turns 12 years old today. I mean, 40-year-old guys don't take off from work for their birthday. But Steven Fuentes had to take off for his birthday today. I approved his PTO. So we got my main man over on this side, Rashad, filling in. Good evening, Rashad. How you doing?
I'm good, guys. I'm glad to be back. Steve hits Ben Griffin outright and just decides to take the end, and so I'll step in and fill his shoes in.
You joke with the Ben Griffin, and I literally have bet Ben Griffin. Ben Griffin's won 2 times this year, and I've bet Ben Griffin literally 7 times. Except for the 2 times he won. Like, is Jason, is Ben Griffin now on my – is he the guy that I have to talk about that I always get wrong?
Remember when you used to be the Max Homo whisperer? You're like the opposite of that with Ben Griffin.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the opposite of a Max Homo whisperer.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good evening, Little G. Hope you're doing well, my girl. It's crazy. Last week was a fun event on the PGA Tour. It was kind of – how do I say this? It was kind of boring, but it was kind of also exciting down the stretch there a little bit. It was, not big names, but there were enough big names in it. It was something. What did you think, Rashad, of last week's event and the way that Charles Schwab played out?
Well, it was, it's exactly what you expect from that event. It's always a good test, even though it's not the longest course. For me, it's always kind of the event that I wish that Harbortown was more of, where, you can have long hitters compete. You had guys like Potgieter who, had a good showing. Obviously, you have Scottie in the field, which, I was thinking about it this morning when I was doing my research, and I almost just have to bet him every year at this tournament until he wins it, because he's been so close so many times, and he's determined to play it, and he's determined to win it, that, it seemed like this was going to be his year, and then it seemed like he was going to withdraw at one point, and then it was his year again. And then, but you had a guy like Ben Griffin come in, and it's always good to see guys get the first standalone win. I don't have a guy in the field. I always want the guy that it means the most to win. And given his story, how could you not be happy for a guy like that?
Absolutely. Jason, Scottie Scheffler, we're saying that, Scottie Scheffler is going to win every one of these events like this. And this week, the same exact thing. He's coming off defending his title again. It's another week where how can you just go against Scottie Scheffler again this week?
And it's even more hard too, because you see these fields that he's in. It seems like every week that he plays, he's like a massive favorite. Like Rory there hasn't been a lot of like Scottie and Rory weeks. A few of the majors obviously, but there hasn't been a lot of like these lesser tournaments. Like every week it comes down to like, can I play him? It's not a choice of do I want to play him? It's just a choice of like how high is the ownership going to get?
Yeah, Scottie Scheffler. I love it. We talked about it last week. The most boring golfer out there, right? No personality, the most boring superstar championship athlete. Yeah. Even last week, he was asked, I don't know if it was in the middle of the tournament or before the tournament, he was doing presser, and he was asked about whether he thinks he'd have all these titles if the live golfers weren't on live, they were still on the PGA Tour. And in typical Scottie fashion, he said, I don't know, maybe not. What? Like, he played it off like if that was like a Philadelphia athlete, like there would have been like this, like, how dare you bleep this? If that was Rory, Rory would have set off. Like, I just love Scottie's, whatever, cool, sure. Like, I don't know what you got to do to rattle this guy.
He still is notorious though for like he'll give that kind of answer and then he'll give like some kind of like jab, like a little like subtle, not like aggressive at all, but just like a subtle like, well, if they want to be here and play real golf, they'd be here, like something, you know what I mean, like something like that, where he'll get the little jab in.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be some sly comments here or there from him. But Rashad, are you just as bored with his personality as everybody else?
Oh, it's hard to say because he's so good that you're enamored with watching him play. It's funny because I was on the phone with my dad after the PGA Championship, and there's obviously the comparisons to Tiger now, and it seems like when we were watching Tiger, it was more artistic. You watched him hit these amazing shots in these amazing circumstances, but with Scottie, it's a technical, it's like surgical. Like he just dissects golf courses, and you watch it, and you're just like, especially as an avid golfer, you're like, he makes it look so simple that it looks like anybody could do it, and not anybody can do it. And so that's what makes it, the personality stuff aside. I mean, yes, the arrest last year was great for his for rating. But
his street cred went up a little bit.
But even he turned that into a wholesome, and it's just amazing that there is nothing, and it would be amazing if something, if we found out something crazy about him later, not necessarily negative, but that he has a streak about him, and I think he tries to show it on the golf course every once in a while, but even that doesn't really land.
It's kind of great. It's funny you bring up Tiger Woods, and that's a great like little nod at this week because of how magical Tiger Woods has some famous shots right here at Muirfield Village. I keep thinking about that flop shot he hit when he was behind the green. He flopped it up on, I forget which hole it was, the hole with the water off to the left side of it. Like Tiger he had that flair for the dramatic. Scottie doesn't have that flair for the dramatic.
That's a great point too. It's like, like kind of what Rashad just said. It's like you'd see Tiger with like these amazing saves, or like everybody remembers Bubba's shot at the Masters, or like, Phil like with some crazy escape on a hole. It's like Scottie, it's a great point Rashad made. It's like, it's just certain. It's like, it's not, he doesn't have to make these great escapes because he never puts himself in trouble. It's like, it's just, I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna shoot under par every day. I'm gonna put pressure on everyone, and I'm not gonna do anything crazy because I don't need to. And there's no like emotion behind it because he's not doing these like crazy, par saves or anything. He's just methodical.
Instead of par saves, with Tiger, it's always to get this crazy up and down to save par, and he ends up making birdie. Scottie, he holds out in the middle of the fairway for an eagle, and he does that 4 or 5 times a year. Where oh well, he
shows no emotion when he does it.
And it's like, it's just nuts how he does that and how regularly he does it. I mean, I remember he eagled the first hole of the PGA Championship last year, and I fully think that he didn't get arrested. He probably runs away with that one too.
Yeah.
He did it at Sawgrass when he came back from all those shots back. He did it. There was another one I think earlier this year where he held out for eagle. Or was it the Masters? The last time he won the Masters with Cam Smith, where Cam Smith outdrove him, and then all of a sudden he just holed out on 3. And it's just, and I had Cam Smith that day too.
I had a big bet on Cam Smith that week too. That really annoyed me. That final round there.
Too, about Scottie too is like we're a little bit enamored by his tee to green game, how flawless his tee to green game is, and how much he gains. He's starting to putt. Like he's putted really well this year, and like that makes it even scarier. Like if he has these spike weeks where he gains 10 strokes on the field, tee to green, like he's gonna win every tournament by 5 or 6. Like he's turned himself into a more complete golfer, which is crazy.
Well, let's get into the Memorial. That's this week's event, the 7th of the elevated events, I believe, this week, with only one more to go. Muirfield Village, another legendary course. I think it's been about 1976, the first time that the Memorial was hosted here. Huge crowd, obviously, this week. Minus Rory McIlroy, minus one other guy in the top 50 didn't show up for this event. I forget who the other one was. But anyway, Scottie Scheffler is the headliner as the defending champion. So first, as always, Jason, Muirfield Village. I have so much trouble saying Muirfield Village. Muirfield Village. Tell us about Muirfield and what the golfers will face this week.
So it's only like the second most appreciated course on the tour, and you can't even say it. No big deal. It's 7,500.
I mean, you've heard me say Christian Bazudin, who
I know
for 5 years now Obviously, I can't say Muirfield Village.
Listen, one of the most iconic courses, though, no joke, on the tour. 7,589 yards, par 72, small, super fast and firm greens. I think we mentioned earlier, top 50 in ties are going to make the cut this week. As far as the course goes, 68 bunkers on the course, water and play on 13 holes, super wide fairways, very, very small greens. The weird thing about the fairways being small, wide, is you could still see accurate guys gain the advantage here by finding the fairways and placing themselves in good position for their second shots. We've seen this is just a tee to green. It's a full game challenge, but especially tee to green. Putting doesn't seem to matter as much here. This is always one of the most difficult courses on the tour, so you really got to be a complete golfer to get it done here.
Absolutely. You talk about the shorter hitters. Last year, the top 7 golfers in the field last year, when it all came down, none of them were top 10 in driving distance. I mean, everyone thinks because of the distance at this course that correlates to winning. But honestly, if I look at it, 2023, when Hovland won, he did not lead the field in driving. I mean, he's obviously a longer hitter, but he was in a playoff with Denny McCarthy, obviously not a long hitter. 2021, it was obviously the John Rahm COVID situation. So John Rahm's a big hitter, but he had a withdrawal. I think it was Patrick Cantley's year in 2021, not the longest hitter. So being a long hitter does not necessarily matter here, Rashad.
No, it helps. It's one of those where it helps, but it's not a deal breaker if you're not. I look at this course and I think a lot about like playing how I play golf in Florida, where you don't have to be a long hitter, but if you hit it in Bermuda rough here down in Florida, you're going to have a hard time judging anything, and that's if you can even get it out. So it's imperative that you hit the fairway, and the fairways are wide, so you should be able to hit the fairways. So shorter hitters are going to have some room on this golf course because they're going to have fairway lies. These guys are all the best in the world, so they're able to dial in their mid irons. The course is not going to beat you to death with length, even though it is long. But a lot of that is in the par 3s and par 5s, even though there are a few long par 4s out there. But you just have to grind through those and take care of your business on the par 5s, and you're going to be in good shape. And a lot of those short hitters, that's their game anyway. So they're used to playing that. Whereas the longer hitters, they're used to just beating the course to death with distance and wedges, and you can't do that here. So it takes a player with an all-around game to really attack this golf course.
So obviously, Scottie's in the field, and he's the number 1 price guy. And I ask this question every week that Scottie's in the field. Jason, 13,300. The next guy, Xander, way down there, 10.9. Did they get Scottie's price right this week?
I think they did. I think without a clear cut. I mean, he's not Xander yet. He's been better. His game's coming around. You can see that's coming around, but there isn't like a clear cut like, wow, I'm pumped to play that guy. So I feel like they did. I think the price gap is good. I think 13.3 maybe. I thought it'd be like 13.7, but 13.3 seems like a pretty fair price to me.
I mean, there's not much of a sometimes in these elevated events or in big majors, so to speak, you can eliminate 5, 10, 20 guys at the bottom of the board just completely right off the bat. I mean, you look at the bottom of the board, Dunlop, Harry Higgs, and Brandt Snedeker. I mean, yeah, you can eliminate them if you want to, but every player in this field is a guy that deserves to be in this field to an extent, so to speak. So I think they could have gone a little higher, but I think they got it right. Rashad, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with it. I think it's always the choice of, when I look at a field like this and I look at the price that Scottie is every week, the first thing I think of is, okay, I go to the bottom of the field, just like you said, and I say, okay, who am I comfortable playing down here? Yeah. And if there's enough of those names, then I will click Scottie. If there's not enough of those names, then I won't click Scottie. And that's just what it comes down to. I think it was your PGA Championship show. I said, I think that there's a chance that the winner may not have Scottie in the lineup and you could still win a GPP, even though Scottie won the tournament. I think that if you don't have the right guys at the bottom of the board, then it's having Scottie is almost irrelevant because you're going to have guys miss the cut. And, even in a field like this, where you're going to have most of the guys make the cut, you're going to have a lot of these guys miss the cut because they're not the refined players that the guys at the top of the board.
I used to always think that when you're going to have a very high percentage of the field make the cut, that you could take more chances when you're building your lineups. But yet, last week in an event, I mean, obviously more people, but it was still an invitational. And everyone was talking about all week long how, there's going to be so many 6 for 6s I didn't have a single 6 for 6. I didn't even have a 5 for 6. Yeah, I had a bad week. But maybe I took too many chances. So, Jason, real quick, theory-wise, since we're on the 2-year anniversary of your GPP win, because, you're the only Fairway to Heaven host or whatever that's actually won a GPP, thoughts on that, like, taking the big chances? Like right now, if you want to play Scottie and Xander, I told you before the show, I looked at it, but I would have had to dip to like a Dunlop or a Vegas or a Matt Kuchar just to start if I went that way. Couldn't really pull it off. Is it right or wrong to be taking big chances when such a high percentage get through? Because if you get it wrong, like I did last week, and you end up with 3 lineups that are 3 for 6, you're kind of screwed.
What's funny is that when I won this GPP, it was with an extremely balanced lineup and fading Scottie. I think it was Rory was in it, like a bunch of big names, and I went with Hovland, who was like, I think 9,800, I want to say, that week. So I went extremely balanced, didn't go below like 7,500, and that got it done. I feel like a lot of the times in these like tougher field events, that's the way to go. And I think you do see people getting more aggressive, like you said, because like everybody wants to play Scottie. Obviously, there's not anybody that doesn't want to play Scottie. It's just a matter of can you fit him? And like Rashad said, it's like, are you comfortable enough dipping down and having 2 of these 6K guys or one 6K guy and one low 7K guy? And like sometimes I feel like that's harder when it's harder to build a complete lineup. And it's like we're not playing we're not betting in this case. I mean, we do, but we're not betting in this case. We're seeing who can get the highest score. A lot of times I think people freak out about having the winner when if you have 5 guys in the top 10, you're going to be right there for a JPP. So
yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going this week. I mean, I have a few 6K guys I'm using this week with 20 lineups, but I'm trying to build that more 75 to 93 kind of range lineups that are balanced that are going to ensure me 6 for 6 lineups this week. Rashad, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the key is having watched enough content and learned from players that play this really well. I've never won a week-long GPP, but I've won several showdown ones. And the key is to play the way you play, right? So if you're the guy that's going to take chances every week, take them every week. You can't not the winning percentage is so low in this game that we play that you can't be afraid to take chances, because you're going to lose more often than you win no matter how you play, right? It's just the percentages. So if you're comfortable taking chances, be comfortable taking real chances. I mean, I once won a showdown lineup and I left $3,200 on the table in my lineup. Sometimes you just have to get ugly with it. And that's just, that's the way you win at DFS. So, Jason won a GPP with a balanced lineup. That might have been a week that nobody was using balanced lineups, and that's what you take. And sometimes now that might be, these things flip in DraftKings that, now, whereas everybody used to play balanced lineups, now everybody's trying to take chances so they can get Scottie in their lineup. So maybe balanced lineups is now the short odds way to play.
Yeah. All right, well, let's look at the rest of the field. Obviously, Scottie's 13-3, Xander's 10-9, Justin Thomas is 10-1. They're your top 3 guys, 10K and above. Jason, you said before the show, Xander is there but not there. We all know there's a case that everybody should play Scottie, but if he's going to be 40% owned and you don't want to play him, your next click is Xander or Justin Thomas. Who are you playing at the top of the board and why?
I think I've been kind of talking myself into Justin Thomas as the day goes. I feel like he has not been good in majors. He just hasn't. But like in these elevated field events, he has been pretty good. So I think his game is right there. Putting still remains the big question mark with him. But this is a course where even though the greens are super tough, you don't have to be an elite putter to win here. So I like his tee to green game a lot. So Thomas is probably my favorite. This seems like another week where, I mean, Morikawa hasn't won in a long time, but it's like if there's a course that was made for him, it's a course where approach matters by far the most over anything. And his approach game is dialed in. He just, for whatever reason, has the what did somebody call it, the Sunday Scaries or whatever they were called? Yeah, the least might have said that. It's true, but like he in theory, he seems like his game set up perfectly for this course.
I mean, Colin's going to be a highly owned guy. Justin Thomas's ownership's good. I mean, and you talk about Justin Thomas in the majors, but let's remember, Justin Thomas has got three other second place finishes along with his win, plus multiple other top 10s.
He's been good.
Is Justin Thomas having quietly the most underrated season this year of golfers on tour? I mean, Scottie's having a great season. Sepp Straka's having a great season. Rory's having a great season. Justin Thomas, if you look at his results, he is right there with all those guys, Rashad.
Well, yeah, and if you look at the last 3 years, look how bad he was 2 years ago. And I think the narrative with Justin Thomas last year was, man, he's almost there. And then look at what the season that he's having this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have used Justin Thomas in quite a few events this year. I had him an outright on him at the Heritage. And I think the sky's the limit. I think that he is starting to get his confidence back. And he is a very dangerous player when he has his confidence.
Absolutely. Neither of you interested in Xander. I know, Jason, you said he's there, but he's not there. Xander's got phenomenal course history here. Xander, isn't he back? Is he? I don't know. I mean, 28th at the PGA Championship, 11th truest. He's basically gone since the Valspar, 12th, 8th, 18th, 11th, 28th. And he hasn't lost any strokes tee to green since the Players. He's only lost strokes on approach once since the Players, once on around the green. His putting the last 2 weeks combines 5 strokes gained putting. It seems like Xander's this close, and I kind of feel like this is the week he breaks through because of his course history and how his numbers have been trending. But now, after listening to you guys talk about JT, I'm like, should I flip everything to JT now? And I'm kind of feeling that there.
Xander, no, I mean Xander, like you said, everything you just said is accurate. Like he seems like he's right there. I just worry about his winning upside and being almost $11,000. I think he's 10-9, right? That's tough for me to get to that. It's like that's putting you in a weird spot with the rest of your lineup for a guy that, like, I don't have a ton of confidence in him winning. Is he going to top 10? Probably. Is he going to win? I don't think so. So that's where my dilemma is.
I mean, his ownership percentage is going to fall somewhere between 10 and 15%.
Which is crazy.
And to me, I kind of feel like, I know this is crazy, and this is not a statistical thing. This is just a gut feeling, knowing golf. Very few golfers win multiple times in a year. Scottie does, obviously. Xander has. JT doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to win multiple times this year. He got his win this year. He's going to finish with a bunch more top 10s. Xander hasn't gotten a win this year. And I know that doesn't sound very, like, technical, but that's that gut feeling that it's more likely Xander gets his first win versus JT getting his second of the year. Rashad?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think both are likely. I mean, obviously, they both can't happen this week, but I think Justin Thomas is a guy that can win in bunches. He's proven that in his career. And Xander, you know, I think the Scottie injury kind of took the media away from Xander starting the year with an injury as well, because he played in that first TGL event and then he was sidelined for a while and he's really struggled to get back as well. I personally will definitely play Xander because as we joked about with you with Ben Griffin earlier, I have only not played Xander Schauffele twice in a major event in the last 3 years since he blew up my 2021 Masters, and those 2 majors that he won last year. So yeah. I will be early to Xander Schauffele's victory party, like I will probably be late to Colin Morikawa's. But yes,
that's probably smart. Yeah.
All right. So the 9K range, it's loaded. Obviously, you got Colin Morikawa, who we've talked about. You got Patrick Cantlay with his Fugazi win here a few years ago. Fleetwood, who still can't win a golf event. Oberg, I think, is kind of probably the most overpriced guy in this range, based off of he's getting priced $9,300 based off of his reputation and expectations versus results. And another guy that's quietly having a great season, Corey Connors and Hideki Matsuyama in this range. Rashad, what do you think of this range? Who's your favorite guy in this range, and where will you be going?
My favorite guy is Corey Connors, but it seems to be everybody's favorite guy. I've played Corey Connors almost every major event this year because he's just so consistent, and he's just that guy that you can put in your lineup, and you know, it's like DGen75 used to say, he's your Care Bear, he's your safety blanket. You know, you could just put him in the lineup. He's gonna make the cut. He's gonna finish somewhere in the top 20. He might scare you, you know, at the end, and he might fold on Sunday, but he's just that guy that I want to play. I would love to play Oberg this week, but he just hasn't looked good at all, and it's just hard for me to pull the trigger on that.
In theory, what Oberg was supposed to be this year would be a perfect fit for this course, but on the flip side, he hasn't been that, and he's not getting, you know, so when we talk baseball, oh, this guy's struggling, he should get dropped in the batting order. Oberg's struggles should have dropped him, in my opinion, on the price board into that mid 8K range. You can make an argument that Victor Hovland should be higher. You know, a couple other guys should be higher than him. Jason, where are you going in this range?
Connors is my favorite too. The thing that I think keeps his ownership down a little bit, I've heard a lot of people talk about him for sure, but I think his price point keeps the ownership off a little bit. Because I think if you want to go to Scottie, it's super tough to have him be your second player in. But he's definitely my favorite in this range too. I think this might be a range where I let ownership dictate a little bit, with the exception probably of Ober, because I don't think I can get around on him. But I do like Hideki is another one that I think will be low owned here. The approach game has been really good. His iron game, obviously, we know is elite. And if he can get it going at all, I feel like he's a guy that could easily win in this range. So I think I'm going to let ownership dictate a little bit, just because I don't love anybody in this range.
I think when you talk about that, I'm high on Corey Connors as well. I even bet Corey Connors, even though he hasn't won a major event. Corey Connors in majors is always chalk, but he's always priced 7,500, 7,800 at the Masters. And you know he's going to get that top 10 or top 20, but he's always in that 20% ownership range. I think because, like you said, at that 9,100, the actual generators right now, he's only in 10% of lineups. The projections is closer to 20. I think he falls in somewhere at 15%. Even if he gets to 20%, I would rather, out of all the other chalky guys at the top of the board, I would feel most confident taking a Corey Connors chalk over anybody else to build my lines, especially if you're not playing Scottie Scheffler. I love your point, though, about how, the price is dictating that ownership, and I think it'll come down. I think a lot of the ownership is going to go into that 8K range. Guys like Victor Hovland, Sepp Straka, who, again, underrated for how he's playing. There's a lot of names that a lot of people are talking about in the 8K range, and I built a bunch of my lineups today, and now the numbers have swayed big time. A guy that everybody's talking about in Matthew Fitzpatrick, and I jumped on the Matthew Fitzpatrick bandwagon this week, and he was at like 15%. Now they're projecting he could get close to 30% this week. Wow. And now I'm like, oh, I might have to make some pivots tomorrow with all my lineups. I don't know if I can stomach 30%. Like, Matthew Fitzpatrick's been trending in the right direction. Of course, Matthew Fitzpatrick, I'm pretty sure, has got 5th place last year, 9th place before that. He's got a 3rd place.
Yeah.
Great course history. Matthew Fitzpatrick at 30%. I don't know if he's that good just yet.
Problem was, he was so terrible until a handful of weeks ago. I mean, he was bad for 2 years. Like, remember when he didn't realize that his driver had the weight on it still?
Yeah.
Bad really since then. I mean, we've seen him play better with the past 3 weeks.
And how much better has he really been? I mean, missed the Players and missed the Valero. 40th at the Masters, 38th at RBC, 23rd, and then 8th. So he's gotten better each week, but he's only got one top 20 all season.
Right.
And we're all on Matthew Fitzpatrick. And now, the longer I think about it, the longer I'm thinking that I am way off on this one.
Well, and I think an easy pivot to him would be Berger. I think just as much upside, probably more. The only thing that Berger's struggled at is his short game. His short game's been so bad for the past 4 or 5 events. I mean, if he can putt at all, Berger, I think, could contend. Could he win? I don't think so. But if you're trying to save a little bit on ownership, like Fitzpatrick, I don't have a ton of confidence in winning either. I think Straka is the play, but I think everyone knows that. I mean, the guy's just proven that he might not be elite, but he's a step right below that. I mean, he's a guy that can contend with the big boys any day. So I'd say Straka and Berger are probably my 2 favorites.
I mean, the only pivot other than Berger, is the Jordan Spieth, and I don't think anybody wants to talk about Jordan Spieth anymore after how he did, a few weeks ago. Rashad, what are you looking at in this range? What's up? The birthday boys in the house. Happy birthday. Well, we're going to talk about Tony Finau in just a few moments here, because I saw Jason's tweet about him. And yes, we are trending in the right direction. Segue to trending in the AM. Thanks, Stephen. Happy birthday, Stephen.
Happy birthday, Stephen. Another good. Yeah, I mean, you could actually look at the same price and go with Keegan Bradley. I mean, he's sneakily had a this year too. Again, not really. I know I think he had a win earlier in the season, or maybe it was in the fall season, but he's been a steady player all year long. I think there's a part of him that's driven, being the Ryder Cup captain, that he's still driven by what happened 2 years ago, that he wants to be on the team. And I think that it's shown in his performance this year, and he's at the exact same price at $8,000 as Matthew Fitzpatrick. So, if you're looking for an ownership discount, that might be the direction to go. Do
you guys think he's on the team this year?
Who?
Keegan.
Ask me after the Travelers.
Yes. Give me 2 to 4 more weeks to make that decision.
Okay, fair.
That's his event.
I will say this: Keegan Bradley went from one of the most disliked golfers in golf. And I don't even know why. Just because he just carried himself with a certain air about him. He was very quiet and shy, just like Scottie. He didn't have the family drama like Patrick Reed. He wasn't arrogant like Bryson DeChambeau.
Right.
Like, I don't even know why we hated Keegan, but we hated Keegan.
I think he was like the
now
quiet
he's
guy.
loved.
He's like the quiet guy that was misunderstood. Like he just always seemed kind of douchey because he didn't really say much. You saw like a guy wearing Jordans when nobody else wore Jordans to golf. It's like, this guy's kind of a douche. And then it's like, maybe he's not.
It's that scowl he has when he putts, and the old heads remember the near confrontation that he had with Miguel Angel Jimenez at the match play years ago, where he was, where he stepped in, but Miguel is such a well-liked guy in the golf industry. There's nothing he can get, even though he was sticking up for his caddy in the situation. His caddy, I think, was wrong, but he has that aura that makes people kind of dislike him a little bit. He is kind of a different guy.
Yeah.
So I know Jason tweeted out earlier today about not understanding the Tony Finau love out there. And you think you're seeing all these. First off, the tip checker guy, Tony Finau, did not land in the top 10 most bet guys this week.
Okay.
Let me put that out there. I did bet Tony Finau 50-1. So, Rashad, I'm going to make a quick case here on Tony Finau. First, course history. He's played here 8 times, only missed the cut once in 2019. He's got 5 top 15 finishes here, 3 times in the top 10. And then also overall, he's had 2 great events in a row, the Truist and the PGA Championship, gaining strokes off the tee, gaining strokes tee to green, around the green. He's positive. He's plus in putting. So everything about Tony Finau's game is trending in the right direction now. Now, it's been 2 years since he's had his last win in Mexico, but I think course history trending in the right direction. 50-1, 8,200. I think you put those 4 pieces together, Tony Finau as a smart play and a smart bet this week.
I like the play. I like Tony Finau. I'm kind of hoping that he does keep flashing because I want to go right back to him at the U.S. Open. I had him at the U.S. Open last year, and I was really he was in the top 5. I like playing Tony Finau. It's just that until you mentioned that he had good finishes at the PGA and at the Truist, I couldn't think of one great Tony Finau performance this year, and usually one that I can go to.
He was definitely an average golfer for the first 2-3 months of the season. But over the last month or so, basically since the Masters, the Masters is a place he normally thrives at, he didn't thrive there, but since then, he's definitely turned a corner. And when I see Tony Finau plus in putting 2 straight weeks, that's something that tells me his game's almost there. Go ahead, Jason. Tell me why you don't understand it or why you would say no.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think he is a good DraftKings play. I think he's a really good DraftKings play, especially because he's in that weird category, like right below Siwoo, who's going to be – if Siwoo is actually going to be 30% owned, that's insane. I mean, I know
Tony Finau should be under 15%.
Yeah, I mean, if that's an easy pivot, in my opinion, on DraftKings. I just don't see him winning. He hasn't been around. It's kind of like the Spieth thing where it's like people bet Spieth all the time, and I love Spieth, but it's like we haven't seen him even contend. Like we haven't seen him relevant in a golf tournament in a long time, and that's my fear with Finau too. I think, do we see a top 15? Maybe. I think he's a good DraftKings play for sure. I just don't think he's a good bet.
I mean, how many guys that have 5 wins under their belt are normally 50-1 also to win an event that they have great course history at? Sometimes I don't bet golfers that I think are going to win. I bet based off the odds versus how much they've won in the past versus their course history. Betting versus DraftKings, I always try to keep it separate to an extent. Go ahead, Rashad. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I feel like Tony Finau is another version of Shane Lowry where he is he's up on the leaderboard and then you go to the bathroom on Sunday and you come back and his name has completely disappeared and you don't know why. And I feel like that's happened a lot with Tony Finau when he's had had a chance to have a higher finish lately. I always feel like when I'm picking Tony Finau, I'm picking with my heart. I would love to see that guy post multiple wins and have a really great career with a lot of victories and win a major and whatnot. And so I pick him a lot. I'm waiting to see it happen, his game round out more consistently, and I just haven't really seen that from him this year enough.
You're talking to a guy that's not a big Tony Finau fan either. I'm the one that used to sell T-shirts that said 5th place Finau on them, okay? So you're talking to a guy that used to believe that the guy would never win a real golf event. And here I am defending him that he's going to win this week. And honestly, I'm looking at all my bets and all the different odds. I kind of like, out of all my bets, 50-1 on Tony Finau the most so far. So, that's just that. Let's get into the 7K range here. Lots of options, lots of names. Starts out with Denny McCarthy at 7,900. Jason, we'll just start with you. Give me 2 names that you just absolutely love in the 7K range and why.
You just mentioned one of them, Denny. The course history is so good. He always plays well at these tough courses, and you don't necessarily have to be a good putter here, but I think his elite short game separates him from everybody else. So I do like McCarthy. That's an easy one for me. And then probably my second favorite one, which is a little bit weird, is Sam Burns. He's 2 top 16 finishes here. He's looked a ton better in like the last 4 or 5 events that he's played. I just feel like his iron game's been a ton better, and he's been putting better too. So Sam Burns is probably the second one for me.
All right. Rashad, what do you got here? At least at the top, if not, if you want to go down a little bit further.
So my number 2 in my model this week was actually Akshay, and I thought
okay.
I like that one too.
73.
Wow. I want to compare models with you because he was 52nd in my model this week. I do like Akshay. I do like him this week. That's why you don't always trust the model. But yeah, that was weird. You got him second. I got him 52nd out of 72 golfers.
Well, I looked at his last like 5 events. I tried to look and see what the strokes get, and he's actually gained, in the metrics that you would like to see him gain last 4 or 5 events. So maybe his game is trending in the right direction. I would love to take a shot at that, especially at 8%.
Right.
This one makes me ick a little bit, but I'm starting to like the way Max Homa's playing. He's kind of become this year's Wyndham Clark, where he plays bad in regular events and plays really well in big events. And so maybe this is maybe that competitive spirit that Max has is starting to show again. And he's starting to play a lot better golf at 5%. I wouldn't be scared to play him. And then I have JJ Spawn. And then my other one is that you go back to Ben Griffin. When a guy wins a tournament the week before, he's never going to come in on better vibes, and his game's in a good spot. So there's no shame in going back to him, at 7,800. Why not?
I'm going to give you a couple. You mentioned one name, but you really didn't say much about it. I love JJ Spawn this week. 6th last week at the Charles Schwab. But I don't know if you guys he finished 30th here in 2023, the last time he played here. But JJ Spawn has cracked the top 25 in the official world golf rankings this year. First time in his career he's gotten that high. That just tells you what kind of season JJ Spawn's having. And he's played well in tougher fields this year. His all-around, he doesn't hit the ball a ton, but his all-around game off the tee to green approach, putting, you need to be able to putt, and he's putting really well. I do like JJ Spawn, but I'm going to give you another one. And he's played here a lot, like an awful lot. Hold on. Let me count this off here. Let me type in the full name memorial here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's played here probably about 15 times. His first time here was in 2003. During the PGA Championship run, there was a lot of talk about Adam Scott and how he wants to win one more major. Now, I don't think Adam Scott can win another major, but can he win an elevated event? I think he can. And he's got great course history here. He's like I said, he's played here since 2003. Plenty of times. He's got plenty of top 10 finishes here. Knows the course. He's in solid form for a guy. And hold on, let me double check on his ownership here. Adam Scott. You're looking at 6-7% ownership. Yep. Adam Scott. Love Adam Scott. I would even consider going and looking at what his top 20 or top 10 odds are and placing a placement bet on Adam Scott. I think he's one of the best, most underrated DFS plays this week.
Agreed. 100% agreed. You know who was on the winning GPP lineup 2 years ago? Adam Scott.
There you go. Stay. And I didn't even know that. That's good.
Ninth place that year. Yeah.
Now, I love how Adam Scott, what is he like? He's in his mid-40s now, but he's still talking about wanting to win and wanting to be competitive and wanting to win a major. And, he's another one of those nonchalant, kind of quiet guys. He just goes about his business. But he's on that. He's teetering. He's got one major only, but he's got a bunch of wins in his career. Is he a Hall of Fame golfer or not? Going out and winning an elevated event or going out and winning 1 or 2 more events in the next couple of years could push him over the top to that Hall of Fame career. I don't know if it's going to be this week or not that he wins, but if he's going to win a big event, it'll be an elevated event, not a major. So,
well, it's got to be a field and a course, I think, like this. He's not going to go out and win an event that's 20 under. That's just not his game. But if it's the winning score is 9-10 under, somewhere around there, you could see him. He could contend. I think still. He still hits the ball a long way. His short game is just abysmal. But
he's got a lot more. I just pulled up his profile and sorted it by placement. He's got 15 career wins on tour. Obviously, he was the tour champion in 2006, and he's got his Masters win. I didn't realize he won 15 times. Like, I thought it was in like that 8 to 9 range. He's got a lot more with. He might already be a Hall of Fame golfer, honestly, now when I just sorted that out. Rashad?
Yeah, the one that always sticks out to me is the players in 2004.
Yeah.
I remember watching it, and that was 2004. That was
Yeah.
a very long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, and he is and it's amazing that he hasn't won more than he has. To me, he's the Australian Justin Rose, where it's every week he could miss the cut, and every week he could win, and you wouldn't be surprised because it's just that's how good he is. And I'm surprised that he hasn't had more success, particularly as he's gotten older. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all if he had a high finish this week.
Look at you segueing into the 6K range, mentioning Justin Rose, who had a great run at the Masters this year, plays well in hard fields, low grinding score events. Look, if you got to dip into the 6K range, you could do much worse. You can't do much worse. I mean, they're projected between 2 and 5% for Justin Rose. Justin Rose is another guy just like Adam Scott that has played here a crap ton of times and had lots of success. I think he actually won this event once a very long time ago. You know, Jason, are you in on Justin Rose this week or no?
No. I've seen his game kind of like tick down a little bit the past few starts.
I don't know if it's ticked down. It's for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's been up to, down to, up to, down to.
And I just think missing his last two cuts here scares me a little bit. I think your boy, what's his name? How do you say his name? Seabass?
Christian Bezuidenhout.
I think that's a guy that can contend here. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's another weird. You wouldn't think so because he's so short,
Right.
but like you just see like him find the fairways here and just really excel in the short game. And he's a guy that I think that could he win? No, but can he top 15-ish? I think yes.
Okay. Rashad, do you like any of these 6K guys?
I have Justin Rose starred for a reason. It's funny. We talked about this before we went live, and then so during the Open, I deep dove it, and I'm starting to see why the ownership is flocking to Bud Colley. He has played significantly well in the last 5 or 6 tournaments, with one exception. But another name, and I feel like this happened when I was on for the Honda Classic show. I always get roped into playing this guy when nobody else is playing him. But if you look at the numbers on Cameron Young,
You're going there.
He's on my book. He's in my list.
It's worth looking at. It may not be worth clicking, but it's worth looking at. And he has started to play a little bit better lately.
No, I'm all in on Rose and Bezuidenhout. I got Cam Young on my list. You know, a couple other names I think you could get behind if you want to play Scottie, if you want to play, unbalanced lineups. I'm going to throw a couple other names, and if you like any of these, just let me know. I like Eric Cole this week. I like Ryan Fox, Lucas Glover. They're all names, and I do like Cam Young too. Names I haven't put in any lineups yet, but I dabbled with the idea of Nick Taylor, Matt Kuchar, and Johnny Vegas. Dabbled with those names. They haven't gotten in any yet, but they might by the time we're all said and done here.
I like the Kuchar idea.
Yeah.
Another guy who's probably played. I didn't even look, but I'm assuming Matt Kuchar's played here 47 times at least.
I'm sure he has. Yeah.
And that's another player that's playing really well, and he tends to play well in bunches. Is Matthias Schmid? Week obviously, it wouldn't be too far fetched to go back to him, and he's only 6,400. I kind of one of those guys. I can't seem to quit at Austin Eckroat after his win at Honda a couple years ago or last year. And at 1%, he would be a good play. Obviously, Hadwin had a high finish last year. Vegas, is a good player. He can pop anywhere. Those are all worth.
And his confidence has got to be high since the PGA. I know he didn't finish the deal at the PGA Championship, but his confidence has got to be there.
What about Nick Dunlop, T12 here last year? No takers.
Hold on. Give me a second. Let me double check. Let me double check here. Hold on a second. He's not on my board. Miscut 16.
I'm just kidding, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the one dude that would never turn pro earlier in the year?
Luke Clanton, probably.
Yeah,
Luke Clanton would never turn pro.
What happened to him?
Turn pro, but never did.
Right?
Nick Dunlop turned pro right away. He probably shouldn't have turned pro right away.
He was good last year, not this year.
He is terrible this year. He hasn't gained strokes off the tee since the BMW Championship last year in August.
That's a lot of miscuts.
That's a lot of bad off the tee play right there.
Have to figure it out though. So because he got another win, so he's got that 2-year exam bag. So
Yep.
There you go.
Now he's a good player.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at where the standings are for our one and dones and our DFS lineups. The one and done is almost dead heat between the three of us, between Steven, Jason, and I. Jason's got a little tiny $20,000 lead over me. Steven's a couple $100,000 behind. The DFS contest, no offense to the guests or Steven, but it's a two-man race between Jason and I. Me winning last week to get back even with Jason. Sorry, nobody else has got a chance in this. It's just we're the specialists in this one. I know there's like 12 more weeks to go, and that could totally backfire, but I think the race is over there. So let's build our lineups. Rashad, I know you're ready to do this. I won, so I get to pick the order, right, Jason?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what's going on? Steven's still going to enter a lineup. He's going to see all the names we pick, and he's going to pick other people. Now, I did tell Jason privately that if Steven wins this week, because he wasn't part of the in-show contest, we got to put a little asterisk next to his name. It doesn't count. It counts, but it doesn't count. I think it's a half a point maybe if he wins this week, but just throwing that out there. So I'm going to pick the order. Jason's going first. Rashad's going second. I'm going third. No dupes in this lineup. It's just for fun, just for bragging rights. And you all know me. I love to brag, the little I win in life. So, that's all we do here. Then we'll go over our bets. Then we'll go over our one and done and any final thoughts. So, Jason, you're on the board first here.
This is going to be kind of funny, but I'm going to go Adam Scott.
Take a good player right off the board that I'd want. See, now you're getting into the strategy of this.
Listen, you made me go first. It's your fault.
Okay, my bad. My bad.
I'm gonna keep the momentum going, and I'm gonna start with Xander.
I like it.
Okay. I know exactly where I'm gonna go here because this goes into a contest with like 4 or 5 people. So I'm not really worried about ownership percentage in this contest here. I'm just gonna go with my 2 favorite plays if ownership wasn't a part of it, and that is Tony Finau and Matthew Fitzpatrick. Now, Matthew Fitzpatrick might be a bad play in a GPP, but in a small field, I don't think they're a bad play.
Yep.
Finau and Fitz.
All right. I will go ahead and take Akshay.
I like that pick.
Yep.
I'm going to do it since nobody else did it. I'm going to go Scottie.
You're going to try. At least you're not going to have to do what did Steven have to do last week? He picked Matt Kuchar and I don't know. He picked like 5 guys under 6,200 to get Scottie in last week.
I'm gonna go. I'll go Seabass.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to go Connors next.
We're building some really good lineups so far here. All right, I'm going to go a name we have not talked about, but I do like this week. He's got good course history, been playing good golf this year. The Postman, JT Poston, with my first pick.
The real JT.
And I think we're going to go Denny McCarthy with my next pick.
Oh, you fucker.
Denny and Postman right there.
All right.
No.
And I'm going to, you know what, just for fun, I'm going to go Bud Cauley.
Because, again, ownership doesn't matter in this thing, really,
Nope.
I'm going to go my main man. I got another good feeling about him this week. I'm going to go Ricky Fowler.
Wow.
We didn't even talk about him.
Good course
No, we
history.
did not.
And then I'll go Sam Burns.
Jason, who are your other ones? I got Scottie and Fowler, Burns.
Adam Scott. I think that's it, right? Adam Scott,
It's
Scottie, Seabass, yeah.
Okay. All right. I have 7,900 left.
Steve is screwed on this week because all the good players are gone.
I know, literally.
I'm going to go to last week's winner and take Ben Griffin.
Okay. All right, so I got 2 picks left. So we're going to go with Morikawa here. And then we are going to go, since he's not in any of my lineups yet, and I want to get him now in my board, and I might actually switch.
This is going to hurt my feelings. I can already tell.
What, Keegan Bradley?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Never
I'm
mind.
I'm gonna take 2 of my Matthew Fitzpatrick lineups already and turn them into Keegan lineups. So to get a little bit more balance with the ownership there, I got convinced on Keegan. If Keegan misses the cut, I'm coming for you guys. I am.
He decided to hurt my feelings instead.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm down to 1. Whew. Well, I guess I'll go JJ Spawn then.
I thought about going Spawn there with my first pick, but I'm like, nah, you know what? We're gonna go Morikawa. So
I thought you were gonna hurt my feelings with my gut play of the week this week. Aaron Rye.
Aaron Rye. 2 gloves Rye. There we go.
You know how you feel about him, so I thought it was coming for sure.
No, he's not. You want to know? Like, I always write down like 30, 35 names that I like. This week I wrote down like 30. Aaron Rye is not on my list to play this week, even to consider playing. And I don't know what happened, where he fell off in my mind this week, but he ain't on my list this week.
First in fairways gained. He's gonna win this week now.
There you go.
Interesting. All right, one and done time. What are we doing with one and done here?
Steve is going to go first. Steve is going to take Finau as his one and done.
Taking Finau, okay. So am I going or are you going? I don't even know who I'm taking here.
You're going.
All right. I'll go.
A damn clue who I'm going to take this week, by the way.
That's how I felt.
What's that?
I don't have a damn clue who I'm taking this week.
Neither do I. I'm kind of picking my one and done on the fly here.
So am I.
You know, hold on. Let me just double check. I'm going to go Corey Connors this week with my one and done.
Oh, that's what I was just about to do.
I mean, you're allowed to. Means we stay $20,000 apart.
I know. That's boring though. It's not good television. I'm going to go
television. I mean, sometimes we are on the big screen in people's households.
I'm going to go Morikawa.
Another good pick.
It was either good. Oh, I'd already taken Morikawa, or he would have been my pick this week.
I don't think I have. No, I'm good.
It was my Masters pick this week, or that week in the one and done. All right, Rashad, do you have your bets placed yet this week, or?
I have a parlay running tonight to get some buff bets in. If it doesn't hit, then I'll probably just bet normal. I'll probably look at my lineups and my player pool. I usually do my bets on Wednesday night, just when I have a full feel of what I think is going to happen. A lot of times I'll do some parlays earlier in the week to try to get some leverage on the golfers, particularly obviously if I want to bet Scottie or somebody or Rory or somebody like that. I try to do a parlay earlier in the week to kind of boost the odds up a little bit. But I haven't.
What about your other bets? Because you post 2 or 3 plays a day, or any of your plays of the day. Guys, follow Rashad at 4 with an FORE right plays. He posts 2 or 3 bets a day on there. Do you have any plays that haven't started yet, that haven't locked yet?
No, I did a little baseball today. I'm gonna take the under in the Blue Jays Rangers game. I got it at 8.5. I think most books are posting it at either at 8 or 7.5. And then I've started to see that WNBA is very soft, much like mid-major college basketball is. So I'm trying to attack markets that are not as well bet as some of the. UFL has been really good for me these last couple of weeks, even though I kind of had a heartbreaker on Sunday. But
what's that? What's UFL?
So UFL is the spring football. Yeah, come on. Yeah, I know.
I have one guy that tunes into every single morning show, and either his first or second comment is a ramble about he must be the only real true UFL fan out there, because he literally knows everything about every team. And I'm like, dude, I got no idea what you're talking about, man.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm the biggest football fan in the world. And I've watched more UFL in the last 2 weeks than I watched in the 3 years prior when they had the XFL and the USFL. And then I just heard they just bought the copyright on a Tampa Bay franchise that might happen in the next couple of years. So
he was talking about expansion this morning in the chat. So I guess that's why.
That's where we found our kicker last year. We got our kicker off.
I'll say this. I did give because I got a regular listener, it's a big UFL fan, early in this season, I'm like, you know what? Nothing's on TV right now. I'm going to put a game on. Don't know what game it was. Don't even remember what week it was. I put it on. The first play I saw, the quarterback dropped back to throw a huge Hail Mary. The wide receiver had to stop, run back 10 yards to catch it. 3 defensive backs all zoomed in on him, and none of them made the tackle, and he ran for a touchdown. I'm like, that's not good football.
No.
I turned it right off. I haven't turned it back on ever again.
Funny that you said that, because last Friday was the first game that I bet, and I remember turning the game on, and I turned it at like 9 minutes left in the first quarter. I literally watched 13 plays, and not one pass was thrown in those 13 plays. I was like, what am I watching? So yeah, it is an acquired taste. I'll say that.
It's an acquired taste. Jason, you got any bets this week?
I've not made my card public yet, but I'm still working on it. But I have Scheffler to win plus Sepp Straka top 10, 15-1.
I like that.
Hovland 24-1, Straka 40-1, and I'm thinking about Fitz at 50-1.
Okay. I have 50-1 on Fitz and Finau. I got 40-1 on Shane Lowry. I just feel like Shane Lowry's due. I mean, he's been so close for so long. And I like the 40-1 number on him. I got Corey Connors 32.5-1. And my big bet this week was Xander, 14-1. I really do like that. So, we'll see how that goes right there. Real quick, before we wrap it off, we always end with something else. I was going to wrap it up with something else, but we did just talk UFL for 3 minutes here. But you're all sports fans. You love to bet, Rashad. You got the 3-0 series, Knicks versus the Pacers. Pacers up in that series. OKC, Minnesota, 3-1 in that series. OKC's up. 2 questions, guys. A, is it going to be the least watched NBA Finals of the last decade? And B, Rashad, who do you got to win the NBA Finals?
Well, now that Boston's out, I think OKC is, I'm going to run with the chalk and say OKC. I was actually hoping for a Minnesota-New York series in the finals because of the drama of the Karl Anthony Towns trade.
Yeah.
And them playing in the preseason and DiVincenzo chirping at the bench. I would have loved to see that whole situation play out. But I actually think that, yes, will it be the least watched NBA series if the Knicks are not involved? Absolutely. But I think that if it's OKC and Indiana, that'll be a fun series because I think it's track meet one where, it's just going to be flying up and down the floor. And I think that's going to make for the best series.
Yeah. Jason, you're a Detroit Pistons fan. Are you not allowed to root for the Pacers, or because we're not allowed to root for the Knicks, and I'll never root for the Knicks as a Sixers fan. And obviously they're down 3-0. But is there that rivalry with the Pacers still?
Isn't it 2-1?
It's 3-0 that series.
No, it's 2-1.
2-1. Yeah.
I thought it was sorry. I thought it was 3-0. I must have fallen asleep and assumed the game was going to go to.
They were down by 20 and they won.
Okay,
the last game.
It is. Sorry. I went to bet on that game and just assumed they lost. Nobody called me out for saying that wrong this morning on the morning show.
It's funny.
Surprised about that.
I feel like the Knicks are like the Cowboys. It's just, if you're not a Knicks fan, you probably hate the Knicks. And I hate the Knicks, and I have no reason to hate them other than I just can't stand any of their players on their team. So, no, I can't stand the Knicks. Indiana's so much fun to watch. Halliburton's
TJ McConnell.
Yeah. Halliburton's been so awesome this postseason to watch, and it's kind of exciting. It would be exciting to see him go up against Shea. I think that would be a pretty solid finals, but I just don't see anybody beating OKC.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Fairway to Heaven for the evening, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in live. Those that watch on replay, if you got any questions, comments, you can find all of us on social media. Ask away or drop the comments and questions in the replay chat, and I will always go back and double check them, guys. I'd greatly appreciate it. Again, make sure you go follow Rashad at 4 Right Plays. We got Jason Sullivan. Again, happy birthday to the birthday boy, Steven. I expect extra homework from you next week. You got to earn your way back in to the Fairway crowd. Yeah. I might take your name off of the host on Twitter there for skipping for your birthday. But we'll think about it. We'll see what kind of mood I'm in. But everybody have a great week. Let's make some money. We'll be back next week in another episode, guys. Bubbles up.